We're now a day before Yud Kislev, and we know from all the sichos and the mamorim that the purpose of Yud Kislev, the ma'aser in the Geulah, was Yafutzim Nisach Chutza, and that was a hachana for Moshiach. And a lot of different hesbedim that are given how chassidishe brings to Moshiach, which aspects of Moshiach is chassidishe a preparation for. One of the inyanim is the idea of dira b'tachtenim, which dira b'tachtenim, as much as we always come across the expression, there's a lot of effort put into explaining what exactly this is. In other words, the idea of tachtenim, the whole mitzias of a tachten is that he is not prepared for the Eibusher to come into him and live in him. And if the Eibusher will come and say, I didn't ask you, I'm here to stay, that isn't a dira. He broke in, he's not living there, it's not his. So the first ways you want to put two opposites together, two people, two sides, that think exactly opposite. So the Rebbe gives three eitzes, mentions there are three eitzes. One eitzah is, try to convince him. Argue it out, come to a pshara. In a Lashon Moshel Debra Shab gives in Naim Beis, he says you have a courtroom. And there is a prosecuting side and a defense side. The prosecutor is there standing, intent on giving every argument he could why the person is guilty. And the defense is trying to fight him back. They are not friends, they are not b'shalom. Even if they come to a pshara, you're not taking down any enemies. Both of you might be giving in, but you don't have any of the sides. You definitely don't have the achtos of both sides, dira b'tachtenim. Another option would be, let's change the details of the story a little bit or add a detail. The person standing on trial is the prince. In other words, the prosecutor is fighting against the king's family. And in the middle of this whole argument, the king walks in. So versteht sich the prosecutor, if he's a halb normaler Mensch, freezes. And when he gets back to himself, the only thing that's going to come out of his mouth is also why the prince isn't guilty. Okay, we got somewhere. He's not fighting the other side. Question is he b'shalom? Because the king is here, and he feels pushed to go against himself to the other side, so outwardly there's an achtos, there isn't shalom. The Rebbe's mitzayin over here, to Amar Milkut Torah, with Siyarach, I think it's written down as from the Mamorim Milkut Torah that actually give a full seder, a long hesber, detailed hesber. So I'll give you the background of this Mamorim Milkut Torah a little bit. The Maimer discusses these very holy Kabbalistic words called Akudim, Nikudim, and Berudim, which if you look in Chumash, they aren't so holy, they're actually different designs of sheep. But Api Kabbalah, the whole story of Torah, obviously is a different story. It's a ruchnistic story that is translated and plays itself out in Gashmistic characters, which is so ridiculous that you can have in Yonim and Kabbalah being played by sheep. To understand the words of the Maimer describing each one of these elements, there's a mashal from the Rebbe in a different sikha. And the Rebbe uses the example of a king and his different servants. I think we'll understand that a little better if the king and the servants are a little more of today's day and age. Imagine, or speak to those who were there. You have a kfutz of shluchim. People that were picked up of the Beis Medrash, and they were told, you're going into Yechidus, you're going to walk out the shluchim. They walk in, they have no idea where they're going. They might even be given tags. One of them says campus, one of them says seniors. I'm not sure of all the departments today, but each one is different. B'shas they're standing there, they are not thinking about the details of what's going to happen, where they are, how much money they're going to need, if the other shulchan are going to let them take the money, let them take the coverage of the koyach they need. There's one thought. There's a Rebbe here and we're all a shulchan. What we do know is we're walking out and we're going far away into the world. In the words of Kabbalah, that's called Eses Firis Akudim B'Kli Echad. You have Eses Firis. You have many different jobs. And each one of these Firis is like a shliach. They're going to be mashpia, one particular job, different than all the other ones, and they're in a kli. They're going to go down. They're going to go down into Elomes. They're going to go run a world of Nivraim, a very different world than what they were used to. But if you ask them, are you 10 different things? Because you have 10 different name tags? One is named Chesed, one is named Geulah. They have no idea. They know we have one kli, we're going down. Now what will happen, or because it's Bchira Chavshis, what will possibly happen when these people leave Yechidus and they go on Shlichus? I mean, check the news. When you have different Shluchim, that each one has their territory, and they know I have a shlichus I need to take until the end, how can you get in my way? Just because your shlichus is different and you need money, I should give you money for your shlichus. I also have a shlichus. If they're really intense, devoted shluchim, they're going to do that. May do that. That's called the Elam of Nikudim. Nikudim means you have 10 different spheres, 10 different jobs, they're separate. Every one of them just has one nikuda, a different nikuda than all the other ones. I'm not listening to you, I'm not listening to you. I have one nikuda and you're going to get out of my way. Which in Kabbalah had very bad consequences, called Shviris HaKelim and a bunch of holy other stuff that we're not going to get into now. The kids said that it didn't work out. Then came what we call Elam HaTikun, or Elam of Virudim. Virudim, according to Rashi, which if you want, there's a Sikh and Parshas Vayetze where the Rebbe goes through Shittas Rashi and other Shittas and connects it all to this idea of Kabbalah. Virudim means there aren't just dots that stay separate. They're lines that crisscross each other. In Chassidus, it's called Iskalos. We may be 10 different people. We may have 10 different jobs. We're very devoted to our job. But for the sake of Shalom, we'll relax. I'll put down a little bit my intensity. And I'll start thinking there's another shliach with another job. Maybe he also wants some of my money. He also wants some of my gvirim. When there's more bittul, or in the lashon of Chassidus, there's more kalim, you're not so intense, there's room for other people. And that's not a world of toyu, where there's just one big fight, and there's no way to get anything done, because no one's backing off, we're just nikodes. We'll back off, we'll connect to each other. That might be elam hatikun. We might have settled things. But again, if you're only making shalom because you backed down, you backed off, you might have gained shalom, but you're missing the intensity that you might need. Before you were intense, so you couldn't let anybody else in. Now you're letting people in because you backed off from your intensity. So what's going to be with the shlichus? Let's get back to the courtroom for a minute. While this prosecutor is now frozen, because the king just busted him trying to kill his son, if he has a little bit of edelkeit, he won't just put up a show and start pretending to save the prince. Or even not pretending, he might be won over. He'll look at himself. He'll take his koiches as a prosecutor, and he'll understand, if this man is the king, his son needs to live. And if I plan on killing him, I made a mistake. And I need to change. So we're not demanding from him to be quiet or to pretend. What he's able to do is, if he can take all his intensity as a prosecutor and understand why he has to save the prince, why he's right. In other words, if somebody's a real shliach, and what lives by him is not his mitzias, if it's a shayla of his mitzias, he can either be his mitzias all the way and not let anybody else in, or he can get a little shvacher to let other people. Because if for his mitzias, it's one or the other. But maybe it's not about his mitzias. Maybe I'm here for a reason. I'm a shliach of somebody who sent me here. So b'meila, there's no stira for me to be intense on my shlichus and to let other people in. He's going against my mitzias, but who cares about my mitzias? My intensity is not coming from my mitzias. It's coming from the Rebbe. So if this other shliach in the Rebbe's eyes is as intense as I am, is as important, the shlichus is as important as I am, so with our intensity we work together. Because there's no stira, because there's no mitzias. No one has to back down from anything. So the same thing is, the first three problems of the Eilames, Akudim, Nikudim, Vrudim, we're all trying to sidestep one of the issues. Either you want to stay Heilig and not come into Eilames, you're missing something out. You want to come to Eilames and be intense, you're going to lose out. You want to be ba'achtos and keep it, you're not going to be intense. It's all because you're dealing with mitzias, hagbolas. Because that's a golus. Golus is, if you were put in different positions, you have to compromise. You'll never get to a real sholem. Then the Eibishter gave us a Geulah of Moshiach. He gave us chassidishe. Chassidishe starts off in the beginning stages, working one of the first few ways. What chassidishe will call b'chol levavcha, b'chol nafshecha, different ways of trying to deal with the Yetzer Hara. Iskafia, ishapcha. The ultimate sholem of Padav Sholem for chassidishe is when a person realizes that my mitzias here is not my mitzias. It's serving the Eibishter. He doesn't need to fight anything or have any skafias. Any nature he has doesn't need to be afraid of. He can use it out for the Eibishter because chassidishe spoke to him that the only thing there is the Eibishter. So the same thing is did betachtenim. If the tachten, if Elam has it as a tachten, is hanging the hester on the Eibishter, that will never be able to be with full achdus with the Eibishter, because you have one of the same problems. Like it's discussed in the Sichos, Rebbe goes through in detail each one of the Avis, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and then later Matan Torah, the Midbar, Eretz Yisrael, by Rishon, by Yesheni. What are we doing to the tachten? How are we preparing the tachten to make him ba'achtos with the Eibishter, that the Eibishter can be comfortable as a dira, as the Eibishter, with the full intensity of the Eibishter, in tachtenim, with the full intensity of tachtenim? The only way to do that is to train the tachten to be the prosecutor in the highest level. When you're face to face with the emes, and this is why the Rebbe says Padav Sholem is done through Torah. Because Torah, you're not fighting with the Yetzer Hara, you're telling him the way things are. This is Ratzon Elyon. And slowly, that's what takes over the Yetzer Hara. That he realizes this is the emes. And that's mevatel him. It doesn't become Ois Yetzer Hara. He realizes how he should use his kaiches to serve the Eibishter. You take away his tzir of being Helman Behefter. He might be a tachten. And a tachten by nature, just like a prosecutor, if he's an evil person by nature, his nature will have him fight the emes. But when he realizes what the emes is, he won't become a prosecutor. You're not changing his teva. He's able to internalize the emes and follow the emes with his teva. Because you took away the hell and the hester, the evilness of his teva. Because you brought him into a world where there's no evil. So you didn't change me, but you changed what I live for. Because you showed me that what I live for is worth nothing. And that's the highest achdus. Where the tzir of a tachten, of somebody who till now was against the Eibishter, can accept the Eibishter. How did you change him? You didn't. You just taught him what the emes is. And that's the idea of when Moshiach will come. V'ro kol basar yachtav kipi Hashem diber. The basar, the tachten, you're not making him ois basar. There's no kois hanevesh. He's basar. Basar that till now fought the Eibishter and hid the Eibishter. You're just telling him being basar. You think you conceal the Eibishter. It's not geschmack. Who wants it? The Eibishter's emes. And when he realizes that, him as basar can see the Eibishter. This is all till now the idea of Adira. The Rebbe, I believe it was Tavshem and Beis, I could be wrong. The Rebbe spoke a lot about the mile of Hakafis and Simchas Torah. Came to verbringen Simchas Torah, And the Rebbe says, I'm very happy that people dance takafis all day, but they apparently thought that I was saying that it's more important to dance the whole day than to daven. Maybe. And explained how beautiful a minig Yisrael is, the beauty that it gives the Welt. It says, yeah, you want to make a dira very beautiful, but you need a dira. You need walls. If you're going to paint it and make it look nice, you want to bring in nice furniture, you need a house. So it's very beautiful that hakafis add a lot of yoifi and hiddur to the dira, but you also need a dira. So you need basic Torah mitzvahs. After Chav B'Shvat, the last shlav of the Rebbe's Nesius, the Rebbe said there's a new aspect of the dira. The dira is finished. It's time of it to birurim. We have to make a beautiful dira. And the Rebbe connected it to the fact that ladies always want a nice, clean house. The Rebbe says we're a generation of feminism. Tzviris HaMalchus. So the Rebbe said this to be an aspect of bringing Moshiach in hiddur mitzvah. Because mitzvahs are taking the gashmias and making it a dira for the Eibusher. There has to be a hiddur, a yoifi. Similar to the way the Rebbe discussed Yutas Kislev, chassidus has to be in a way of pearls. Because right before Moshiach, you have to mahadar yourself. Not just as chassidus came to you, and chassidus is convincing you to follow the Eibusher adasov with the full intensity. It has to be in a way of yoifi, in a way of margolius. And this is preparing the tachten to mikabel Moshiach. I have no idea what such a world actually looks like, but the card of mamash, we'll see it with our own eyes. Yom Tiv, Shana Tevum, Nachsidis, Chassidis, Tikas for the Chassid.